This is the Manga Xanadu Manga Dome podcast. I am your host, Laurie Henderson. Join me on this journey into the world of manga, where a river of reviews flow through caverns of commentary down into the latest news. Welcome to the Manga Dome. Episode 42. More news is good news. The weekly wish list. It's a Kodansha kind of week, as they have the most releases I'm looking forward to this week. Fairy Tail Volume 34. Enough said. Missions of Love Volume 6 will sit tentatively on this shelf until I can read 1 through 5. It's the same for Sherlock Bones Volume 3, but that one has a better chance of getting caught up on, since I got Volume 1 for Christmas. From Vertical comes From the New World Volume 2. I at least have the first volume of that one, too. Finally, from Viz, there's Uku the Inner Chamber. I first read this series for the Fumi Yoshinaga manga Movable Feast and fell in love with it. Even though the series is on a slow release schedule, I still haven't been able to catch up. I wish I could get this series digitally. The VizManga.com update. Over at VizManga.com, for the week of January 13th, 2014, only one of the new releases from last week held out until this week, and it still sits at the top. Naruto Volume 64 is at number 1 for the second week in a row. Shoujo backlist favorite Skip Beat moves back up 6 to number 2 with Volume 28 and is followed by Shonen backlist favorite Yu Yu Hakusho with Volume 13 in at number 3. New backlist Knights of the Zodiac Saint Seiya Volume 3 comes in at number 4, while Case Closed returns after a long absence with Volume 49 rounding out the top 5 at number 5. Gimmick Volume 8 returns at number 6 as Black Cat Volume 19 moves up 3 to number 7. Tale of the Moon Volume 12 debuts at number 8, along with Excel Saga Volume 27, the final volume of the series, coming in at number 9, and Whistle Volume 3 returns at number 10. This was quite an eventful switch. Last week was dominated by new titles with only 3 backlist titles charting. This week, the backlist retakes the list with only 1 new release, the predictable Naruto holding on. It's good to see Knights of the Zodiac charting again, and it's been a while since we've seen a Case Closed volume return. I'm also glad to see Excel Saga, a book that's been coming out for 10 years, chart with its final volume. Kudos to Viz for finally completing it. One series is debuting on Viz Manga this week, one that is as surprising as it is anticipated. Phoenix has been called the lifelong work of renowned manga creator Osamu Tezuka. He worked on the series for most of his drawing life, leaving the series unfinished with his death in 1989. Each volume is a self-contained story, and the volumes alternate between the past and the future, each story linked by the presence of the Phoenix, the guardian of the universal life force. With each story, Tezuka explores the theme of immortality and what it means. The series has been out of print, and with DMP getting the Tezuka library, the fate of Viz's editions were unknown. Now, they are available digitally, but for a price. Double the price of most digital manga, but for such a rare and thought-provoking series, it might just be worth it. The New York Times bestseller list. Over at the New York Times bestseller list, the print buying public aren't quite so fickle. For the week ending January 18th, 2014, the top spot stays with just 1 series. Naruto Volume 64 holds on to number 1. Right behind it is Monster Musume Volume 2 holding on just as tightly to number 2. Attack on Titan Volume 10 pushes its way back up 1 to number 3, forcing Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal Volume 4 back 1 to number 4. Attack on Titan Volume 1 moves up 3 to number 5, sending Nisekoi False Love Volume 1 down 1 to number 6. Pokemon Adventures Volume 20 debuts at number 7, while Attack on Titan Volume 2 returns, coming in at number 8. Maximum Ride Volume 7 makes a nest at number 9, and Siren Volume 14 falls 3 to end the list at number 10. Not a lot of big changes this week. Attack on Titan gets a volume back, and Pokemon pops its head in for a visit. But other than a few position changes, the top 6 remain the same. I know there are those out there who don't think a domestic title like Maximum Ride should be included, but it's at 9 weeks on the New York Times list. It has an audience, and while I find the melodrama makes it on-again, off-again title for me, it would be wrong to just ignore or admit it. Crunchyroll is on a roll. Crunchyroll announced more titles for their streaming manga. Oki Tenemuru is a mystery thriller series. Mysterious deaths have been happening around the city. Kanata and his friend Tokiji become wrapped up in them when one death happens at their school, and Kanata gains the power to greatly enhance one of his abilities at the price of another going out of control. They are forced to get involved with the incidents by a woman named Shiki as the worldwide conspiracy starts to unfold. This sounds like an intriguing story, and with the first chapter debuting both here in Japan, now is a great time to jump on. Starlight Woman is a sci-fi comedy series. Reports of UFO sightings have been growing, while a plain woman works late at her part-time job. But she has an important secret, and the fate of the world is in her hands. This is a relatively new series too, having just started in September, and being semi-monthly, it shouldn't be too hard for Crunchyroll to catch up on this one. I'm kind of intrigued by the series too. I'm a sucker for UFO stories, even if I'm just in it for the comedy. Is This Girl for Real? Is a romantic comedy about Jun Yoshikawa, a high school boy with a manga artist mom. One night, he gets into a situation with a drunk woman and decides to help her and takes her home. She becomes a live-in assistant, and with an age gap of a pre-30s woman with no skills and the perfect student who helps his mom, the comedy no doubt ensues. The series will be at 5 volumes released in Japan, and Crunchyroll has gone live with the latest chapter, with preceding chapters to come out later. I don't care for age gap comedies, so I will pass on this series. I think it's great that Crunchyroll keeps adding these titles, and the newer the titles, the better, obviously. That means less to have to catch up on for Crunchyroll and the reader. As it is with a lot of the older titles, it just seems they're assuming that a lot of their readers have been reading the scanlation, which, for a lot of us, just isn't true. Dark Magical Girls from Seven Seas. Seven Seas announced a license this week. Magical Girl Apocalypse is described as a despair panic horror story. It centers around first-year high school students Ki and Tsukune. A magical girl appears at their school and starts killing the students one by one with her strange powers. This new trend of magical girls gone dark interests me at first. I loved Madoka Magica, but haven't been impressed with any of the spin-offs. This title seems to be the next big step into the darkness, and I'm not sure I want to follow its path. I will have to reserve judgment until the first volume comes out. I'm picky about my horror. Beginnings and Endings. Hiro Mishima, the creator of Fairy Tail, is looking to start a new series while continuing Fairy Tail. This is nothing new for Mishima, as Fairy Tail was conceived while he was working on his previous series, Rave Master. What the new series will be about is unknown, as Mishima may have decided to start from scratch after seeing an anime that was similar to his manga idea. Whatever it is, I'm looking forward to it. I love Fairy Tail, though I hope he can move away from the ditzy male lead that both Fairy Tail and Monster Hunter had. On a sadder note, Blood Alone, a series that has had a hard time, will end its run in Kodansha's evening magazine abruptly. The creator, Masayuki Takano, tweeted the news with a promise to continue the manga as doujinshi and sell the manga in print at events and digitally. 10 volumes of the series have been released, and Takano thinks there is another 4 volumes of material left to complete it. Blood Alone has been bounced around here in the U.S. It started with Infinity Studios and then was picked up by Seven Seas, who re-released the Infinity volumes as well as volumes 5 and 6. Seven Seas lost the title, though, when it moved to Japanese publishers to Kodansha in 2012. I enjoyed the volumes that were available in English and really wish we could get the rest. With Takano self-publishing, the end might be possible, but there are still volumes 7 to 10 out in limbo. It would be great if Takano could let Seven Seas finish the series in English. The Manga Taisho Award nominees. The Manga Taisho Awards were announced this week, and there were a few familiar faces among the 10 nominees. A Bride Story and One Punch Man are titles that are already being released by Yen Press and Viz Media, respectively. The 7 Deadly Sins have been announced by Kodansha and will see print coming up this spring, while current chapters can be read at Crunchyroll. Other nominees include Ashizuri Suizoku-kan, Ajin, Sakamoto Desu Ka, Sayonara Tamachan, Juhan Shutai, Hikidaishi ni Terrarium, and Boku Dake ga Inai Machi. There are a couple of other titles that look interesting. Sakamoto Desu Ka is about a high school student, Sakamoto, who isn't just cool, he's super cool. All the girls love him, while all the boys resent him, but he never lets them get to him, and he always gets out of their tricks, only looking the better. He's also a nice guy, helping out people when they need it. No matter what the situation, Sakamoto moves through life with class and style. I don't know why, but the series just sounds really interesting. Sakamoto as a character has me intrigued, and I'd like to check it out, at least for a few chapters. Ajin is a supernatural horror. High school student Kei Nagai is killed in a traffic accident, but immediately comes back to life. He learns he is not human, but an Ajin, a mysterious being who can't die. He He goes on the run trying to get away from humans and is helped by his friend Kai. He ends up caught between the conflict between humans and Ajin, and Kai must choose a side. Stories with this kind of plot are pretty common, but I'm still interested in seeing more. It seems the conflict would be pretty lopsided with Ajin who can't die, but with the promise of mystery and action, it might have a good enough twist to be interesting. This is the 7th year the Manga Taisho Awards have been given out. The titles are nominated by bookstore staffers in charge of their store's manga section. With the narrowing of the list to 10 titles, a second round of voting will take place in March, where one winner will be selected. Previous winners in recent years have been requested for license, such as Silver Spoon and Chihayufuru, and one even got a license with Therme Rome coming out from Yen Press. I think I'd like to see a Bride story get it this year. It's been the Bridesmaid for 2 years now, being nominated in 2011 and 2012. I think it's time it got its turn down the aisle. Thank you for listening to the Manga Xanadu Manga Dome podcast. You can find links to the stories and books discussed here in the show notes at manga.jdragononline.com. You can email me with any questions at xanadu@jdragononline.com or leave a comment on this post. Rate me on YouTube and follow me on Twitter at Manga Xanadu, all one word. Until next time, farewell from the Manga Dome.